Excuse me. First thing, I know maybe you guys get these too, but we get an update or some things from the Career Center. One, they sent over 2 different jobs that are available if anybody's looking. One's at the Wade Ranch, which is south of town here, 10 miles maybe, something like that. They do assorted things. Obviously they're a ranch, but he also does some rough cut lumber. I think they cut their own trees out there and do some rough cut lumber, and so I think they're looking for somebody to kind of maybe be a bit of a jack of all trades if anybody's interested in that. I believe they said they'd work around schedules. The other one's Waddell and Reed, which is downtown, and they've hired all kinds of our employees in the past, and to my knowledge treat them pretty well. So if anybody's interested there, Waddell and Reed's a brokerage, so an investment type of a company. If you got an interest in that field, they're extremely good about working around people's schedules. The tailgate party, by the way, that I talk about so much, Willard and Dara, and they run the Waddell and Reed. They're kind of the main guys that put that on. Their wives come down and help out, and I saw Darren's daughter was down helping out, so kind of the whole family, and I think some of the employees. Yeah, because Jeremy was there, yeah. Jeremy just graduated from here a couple of years ago, and he's now working for them as a partner or whatever. I don't know what they classify them. So there's a couple things. Now, how many people in here have an up-to-date resume? A couple of you. Okay. For you guys too, but for everybody else especially, Wednesday there's a resume workshop the Career Center is putting on. I don't know if it's called the Career Center anymore, but anyhow, over on the second floor of Cowan Hall on the very east wing there. And I didn't get the time. I'll have to look that up. Or you guys can go check with them because they'll tell you what the time is. So everybody, there's really no excuse at your guys' age to not have an up-to-date resume. And, with computers the way they are now, to have it hanging around on your jump drive, your thumb drive, whatever you want to call it, there's no excuse not to have that. So we used to have to type those out by hand. You guys even seen a typewriter? Probably not. Have you heard about typewriters? Yeah, okay. If you go to like a museum or whatever, you might see some typewriters there. And we used to have to type ours out. We couldn't have them on computers where you could just print them out kind of on a whim. Okay, and we still, we would keep up-to-date resumes. For one, when you typed it out, you'd make sure you had a few copies of it, and then you'd store one if you had to use it or whatever. But nowadays, you put it on the computer. If you got to make any changes, you make some changes, and away you go. Especially changes to fit the particular job that you might be applying for. Anyhow, that's coming up Wednesday. Friday, I know this will be a huge disappointment, but both Aaron and I are going to be gone. So, okay, I'm going to be out in Spokane. My wife's dragging me kicking and screaming to a Bob Seger concert. So, yeah. And I kind of like Bob Seger, but the idea of sitting in a concert thing and paying, I don't know how much the tickets even were, for all night. They might have beer there. That might be the only redeeming thing, but we'll see. So anyhow, I'll be gone Friday because the concert's Thursday night, and I'm not going to get up real early and drive back. I'll probably spend the day with my brother. That's one of the reasons we're going out there is because my brother does live there. So, all right, I kind of want to get started on the starting points of your Project 1 because this assignment will be coming up. I don't know if I have a due date on it yet, but I will set a due date soon. Okay. A few things. I think I have in there probably a video that explains maybe in a little bit more detail what I wanted here, but I thought I'd go over it briefly here in class. I'm not going to spend a lot of time because I'm sure that video's out there. A couple of things. I don't expect the kind of detail for this class that I would in entrepreneurship class, which I generally teach in the spring. If it's entrepreneurship class, and I'll throw out some ideas. I think a couple of you said you wanted to do a coffee shop. Well, in entrepreneurship class, I would expect that you would go and find out what the prices are for the coffee machines, for the cups you're going to serve them in, on and on and on and on, right? Right down to the gnat's behind, okay? In this class, it's okay to make a general kind of a guess, right? I mean, if you want to spend a few minutes looking for it, that's fine, but you can say equipment, You know, in a coffee shop, equipment's $5,000 or $10,000, whatever the case may be, whatever you think. I'm a little less concerned about that kind of background information. I'm more concerned about how we put the numbers into the spreadsheets here. Okay. Again, once you get this figured out, it's pretty easy to go back and do the other stuff. It's really easy to go back and do the other stuff and then input different numbers into here. Okay. So you don't have to do a ton of research on this. You know, if you're looking at purchasing a building, yeah, you know, call the realtor and see, right? Okay, or look online. Most of them have listings online right now. You can kind of see what the building's going for. Okay, a few things. For most of you, I would suggest that you don't look at purchasing a building. Okay, leasing when you're starting out is generally one of the best ways to get started. Okay, so if you don't purchase a building or the real estate that goes with it, these first two slots here would have nothing in them. Just leave them blank, right? You might have leasehold improvements. Generally, the tenant is the one who makes leasehold improvements. And if you do, you would put those in that slot. Again, do you have to call a contractor and get estimates? No. You know, can you make a guess? Sure, that's fine. Okay. Equipment, same thing. I kind of talked about that. Furniture and fixtures. That's things like if you got a lobby area, people are going to be sitting, you're going to need a couple couches there, a couple things like that. Okay, you might need a desk. You know, those would be your furniture and fixtures. If you got a little restaurant, it might be the bar stools and those kinds of things that you would have, you know, that people would sit at. Okay, vehicles. Several of you are doing businesses that might require a vehicle. Okay, so you'd use that. That's fine. Again, you know, could you look up what a 2015 pickup, you know, a Toyota Tacoma pickup would cost? Sure. You know, look it up, put it in there. You know, take 5 seconds to do that, but you don't need to get any more in depth than that. Pre-opening salaries and wages. This is where I really want you guys to start paying attention, okay? Because pre-opening salaries and wages are only those that you would pay somebody before you open your doors, okay? Before you open your doors for business. So if you've got to go in and do some cleaning and some fixing and some painting and some things like that, and you're going to have somebody help you before you open, that's where this would go. Okay, it has nothing to do with what you're paying people from the day you open. Okay, that's going to be on a separate sheet. So this is just pre-opening. For a lot of you, it's zero, right? Okay, just because there's blanks here doesn't mean you have to have something in them, right? So for a lot of you, it's zero because you don't need help, right? Or you're going to do it yourself. You're not going to pay anybody. It's fine. Okay. Prepaid insurance premiums. This everybody will have. Okay. Everybody needs to have some insurance, right? Okay. You're going to be required to have at least some liability insurance. Okay. Again, you can kind of make a little bit of a guess as to what it's going to cost, or you can give somebody a call. If you know somebody in the business, give them a buzz. Okay. And the reason it's prepaid is why? Well, because most insurance agents, especially if you're starting a brand new business and you call them up and said, hey, I want to get some insurance, you know, for the next 6 months, you know, can you bill me in 6 months? They're going to say, no, we'd kind of like to get paid right now. Insurances are kind of funny like that. So, yeah, so you'd pay up front, okay? What this program will do is it's going to take that upfront cost, and it's okay, put it in for a year probably. Okay, so make your estimate for a year's worth of insurance. That's probably what you'd have to pay. And the program will then amortize that out over that year. Okay, so it'll take, yeah, you're going to pay $1,200 up front. Your actual cost or expense will be $100 a month, because if you canceled 6 months in, you should get a refund, right? So that's kind of why I would do it that way. Inventory, starting up some kind of a business where you're going to have some inventory, coffee shop, taco truck, a few other things, you know, maybe oil, whatever you might need for belts or whatever you might need for some kind of a service business. Okay, but that's it. Inventory is only the things that you turn around and sell to your customers. Okay, it's not supplies. Okay, supplies are something different. Supplies are the toilet paper and the hand towels you have in the bathroom, right? Okay, but inventory is just those things that you turn around and sell, the physical items that you turn around and sell to your customers. Some of you might be a straight service business and you wouldn't have any inventory. That's fine. Okay. Legal and accounting fees, again, these are just those fees that you would have up front. If you're going to estimate, later on you might have some accounting fees and whatnot, that's fine. We'll have another spot for those. These are just the ones that you would set up front. You might have some, okay? It wouldn't be unusual to pay an accountant to help you set up your bookkeeping system. Wouldn't be unusual to pay an attorney to set up your LLC if you wanted to have an LLC, right? Or an LP or an LLP or a C Corp or an S Corp or whatever the case may be, okay? So you might have some of those types of fees. Rent deposits, and that's just the deposit that you would pay. Okay, sometimes that's first month's, last month's rent, and another month's rent. It kind of depends. Okay, but the deposit should be just that amount again that you're going to pay up front. Okay, if it includes first month's rent, okay, then we'll have to make that adjustment when we do our operating expenses. In the first month, then you wouldn't have any rent expense there because you would actually have prepaid that. Okay, no big deal, just kind of remember that. Utility deposits, City of Havre I think requires that you pay a deposit up front now for getting your water hooked up. I don't know, Northwestern might have a deposit. Okay, they're going to be fairly minor. Might depend on your business again too. If you're a taco truck, you're not going to have any hookups for utilities, right? Okay, or a service truck, you won't have any hookups for utilities, so you'd be zero. Okay. Supplies. Again, just those things. And again, this is just the supplies you're going to buy before you open your doors. Okay? Ongoing supplies that you're going to buy monthly, they're going to be they're going to be over here when we get to operating expenses, okay, that we got set up for each month. So there's a line right there for supplies. So in this case, it's just those things that you want to have in your store or whatever, or your truck, or before you get started. Okay? Advertising and promotions, same thing. Just the money that you would spend, and that might be considerable, okay? Because you might want to spend some money up front, to advertise your business, okay? Grand opening, those types of things. Okay? Licenses, I don't know that any of you guys chose businesses that would require licensing. The City of Havre does not have a business license requirement. If you had something that was serving alcohol, you'd have an alcohol beverage license that you'd have to get. There's several different kinds. If you were a hairbender, stylist, whatever they call them, there's certain licenses you got to pay for those things. Okay.
Like to sell food, wouldn't you need to have like a food license too?
I don't think so. I don't think so. That's a good question. I'll have to ask Clay that. The former in Havre anyhow, I don't think that there's a requirement for that. They'll inspect you and whatnot, but I don't think they have a charge.
Okay.
That's a good question. I don't think they do. You are supposed to attend some classes, I think, say food handling classes if you do a restaurant. So there might be some cost on that, and that could kind of go in there. Other initial startup costs, you might have some that are out there that are kind of unique. Again, we're just kind of making some guesses along here. Everybody must have some working capital or cash on hand. When I was in the banking business, and SBA loans used to have a lot different procedure than what they have today, and so we'd send them in to get them approved, and probably 80% of the ones I sent in on the first try got sent back and said, you don't have, or your customer doesn't have enough working capital. Okay, it was like almost automatic, and so you'd figure out if they could find some more money someplace and plug it in there and beef up the working capital and send it back in and see if you can get it approved. So working capital here, what the SBA looks for, is about 6 months worth of operating expenses. Okay, we haven't done our operating expenses yet, so you're just kind of making a guess at this point in time, but you might be able to do it roughly in your head. Let's see, I got rent, I got insurance, I got, it's about $1,000 a month. I need $6,000 for operating expenses. Okay, something like that. Now, let me run through this a little bit. Owner's equity. Everybody, you're going to be required to have some equity in the business. Now, I know poor college students don't have a lot of money, so it's okay to kind of make this up. I'm not going to be one of those that says you got to actually put down what you have in your bank account, because I'd probably be. I don't want to know what you guys have, what you don't have in your bank accounts, I should say, right? Outside investors might be if Uncle Charlie or somebody's going to help you out a little bit, and that's fine. Okay. This is important here, is just the breakdown here kind of. Okay. A commercial loan would be a normal loan for equipment, furniture, fixtures, and that kind of stuff. This is a very good chance that you're going to show a little loan here. By the way, I require that everybody shows a little loan. Okay. Again, I don't care really what the amount is, but you're not going to be able to say, okay, it's going to cost me $50,000 to start this business, so I'm going to put $50,000 in myself so I don't have a loan. I just want everybody to see how the numbers work out. Okay. It does all the calculations for you, so you don't have to really worry about that. But I just want everybody to be able to see how those numbers do pan out when you fill this thing in. Okay. So commercial loan is a good chance, if you buy a lawnmower, right? You buy a $2,000 riding lawnmower, maybe you're going to get a Dixie chopper for $5,500 or something, right? Okay. So you're going to fund that with a loan. You're going to put some money down on that, right? Maybe $2,000. So you'll have $2,000 here, and you'll fund $3,500, right? Okay. Commercial mortgage would be only if you're purchasing real estate, buildings, and land. Okay, that's the only time you would have something there. Okay. Credit card debt, I don't recommend it, although I had several customers that started businesses using credit cards that ended up being successful. I had several customers that started businesses using credit cards that failed miserably too. So, one of those things, but I wouldn't recommend it. If you got a $500 item that you're going to buy and you want to put it on your credit card, okay, I get that. Vehicle loans, again, if you're got that kind of business where you're going to have a vehicle, you're going to need to pick up all your lawnmower around and stuff, and you get a service truck, right? Is that you, right? Taco truck's a vehicle, things like that. So you probably need a vehicle for going around and AI and cows. Calves, that'd be okay. Other bank debt might be one of those, who knows. Okay, you might have something unique or whatever, and that's fine. Now here's a key. And no matter how many times I say this, I know I still get failure. So if you'll notice up here, you got fixed assets and operating capital, and it gives you a total required funds, and it'll do the math for you. Okay, so let it do the math. Okay, if this is $100,000, then this has to be $100,000. Okay, but you make it that way. Okay, so you fill out the top part and let it tell you how much money you need. Let it do the math up there, and it'll tell you how much you need. If you need $100,000 down here, and I'm just going to make this simple, okay, I might have $20,000 in owner's equity, because 20% equity is usually a fairly typical amount, 20 or 25% if you're looking at a business. Okay, 20 or 25%. I got to have $75,000 in loans, and whatever the breakdown might be, and then it's going to equal $100,000, right? And I plug these numbers in myself to make sure it equals. And if it's green and says you're fully funded and balanced, then you're good to go, right? Otherwise, it'll be, I can plug in something up here, and now you require more funding. I'm not balanced. Okay, so you got to be balanced, but you make it balanced. So it's not that difficult. Don't make it any harder than it is, because it's just not that tough, right? Just figure out what you need, and then you plug in how you want to take care of that. Okay, everybody's got to have a loan though. Everybody's got to plug something in there. Everybody's got to have some working capital. And so those are kind of the two requirements for the starting point. We're doing this in segments, so this is going to be the first one. I'm going to set a due date here pretty quick so you guys can get going on it, so that we can get going on some of these other statements, get cruising along. So, okay, questions?
Looks like the starting point, this is due Friday.
So I got it set up for Friday? Okay, good. I was hoping that I did, so yeah. Okay, so this will be due Friday. This shouldn't take you more than 20 minutes, right? Maybe a half hour, if you're really contemplating it, and that's fine. So it really shouldn't take you all that long. Okay, no other questions? All right, I've gone through everybody, what you guys sent to me for your businesses. I think everybody's pretty much okay. There's a couple of you I kind of had some questions or some small comments on. So make sure you read my comments if that's the case. I think they were doing some business, and I just said keep it really simple. Try to make it as simple as possible so that it's easy. Okay. All right, I'm going to sign off here, and you guys are free to go to work on your problems for chapter, maybe 5? You got 5 and 6 this week?
Yep.
Yeah, so you're kind of busy. Plus this starting point, so keep you guys busy.